came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending, word, bending verse, birth in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the precious of reading for long. Better catch a God, throw him the scenes. Dreams manifest, did you get what I mean? God always had a plan, he created for me. Success only means that I did what he seen. Got the game and the fans locked in like a key. Sitting on the throne with a crown, I'm a king. Sitting on the throne with a crown, I'm a king. Yeah, I think we got one.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
You know, I'm charged up. I am charged up this morning. It's already happening.
Already. We're going and jump in it then, because we got a hot topic today, and
Yeah,
I'm mad at our background around screen is a little different today, but you know what? I actually
I
kind of like
noticed
it today. I clicked on something I wasn't supposed to click on. That's called bubble, and I think it was one of those things where the enemy will make you believe that things don't go as planned, but you know, things that he meant for evil or for bad works out for our good. So that's
every
another little
time.
thing. So go and take the people to where we going. Where we going? Cause where we
Man,
going?
oh man. So we are talking about the cost of saying yes. And this is an interesting, we're already sensing that it's going to be possibly multiple, maybe not a full-blown series, but possibly at least 2 shows, depending on how far we get today. Because on the other side of the cost of saying yes is that feeling that we want to quit. And what happens if we forfeit the yes and we actually quit before we get to what our yes is calling us to. And so I just got a call from one of my clients who is going through a very messy divorce, and most of my clients, a lot of my lady clients, that's something that bonds us, if you will. Saying yes to ourselves, saying yes to our dream, and letting go of the devastation and all the baggage that we allow to enter into and interrupt our yes. And there's a piece of this that when we say yes to what we're called to, it seems like every demon is unlocked to distract us and to keep us discouraged, or to present opportunities that would cause us to forfeit why we said yes in the first place. And Craigie, you and I have been talking about this, we talk about it kind of all the time. It's not necessarily, this is the first time we're doing a segment on it, but it's one of those things that as solopreneurs, as business owners, as CEOs, presidents, what have you, on this journey, doing what we believe we're called to do, so many times we're not counting up the cost, right? We're in the middle of it. We're in the trenches of it. So it's hard to avoid what that cost is, but the sacrifice is real. So as we explore this topic today, we also want to leave you, our listeners, our viewers, with an opportunity to evaluate what you're saying yes to, because ultimately you're going to have to say no to something else and set that priority. And how important is it? What's your motivation? Why are you doing what you're doing? And so, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna jump in just like you. You always start with some good stuff, and just when you were talking just now, it's I messed it up. So I'm gonna let me hide that one. Because I went to say you can't count the cost you don't know.
Yes.
In being solopreneurs, as you were sharing, and a lot of folks of us are, we don't know what the cost is of something until we go through it to after we've already paid it. You know, we talked about, I think, on the first season about, you know, paying bills and, you know, paying, you know, credit cards and stuff like that. And so it kind of came weaved into a conversation one time, and you don't really know what you've got to pay for something until after you already to the invoice is due or the check is due. You're sitting at the table, and it's almost like you're eating market rate food that you don't know what the cost is until the bill comes. And for those who are foodies like, you know, you, me, we go out to places sometimes, you know, we always check the market rate. So what's the market rate on that fish today? Oh, it's $7 a pound or $78.50. And I'm like, ooh. So in a lot of cases, I don't get that, you know, that market rate item. I don't I don't think at this point we've ever actually paid market rate for something, but I do want to be able to be in that position where if there was an entree that was at market rate, that I'd be able to pay that. But as a solopreneur, we don't know what these costs are. At least I don't, because I've never owned a business before. So
Mm-hmm.
now looking back, man, it's taken a toll on my kids. It's almost like I work out of the house because
Mm-hmm.
when they need or want me, they may think, "Oh, Dad's just out in the garage, and I'll go do whatever."
Mm-hmm.
Or, "Dad, can you come pick me up?" or whatever. I'm thinking, if I'm in the shop, or if
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the office side where I'm at today, it's just like I'm not available to you because I'm working, you
Yeah.
know. But the benefit is for that, I can stop, but there's a cost to even stopping the work.
Yes. I think what came up for me as you were sharing that piece, and our kids are not malicious in
No,
nature at all. So they're like, I have access to mom or I have access to dad. It's not intended to dismiss or minimize the business that we're doing.
right,
Even in that, we have to have those kind of conversations with our family because sometimes they don't get it.
right.
They don't get like I'm on a call, so we have to develop systems at our house. My husband, in his creative nature, he made me a sign that said, like doctors in, doctors out kind of a thing. But when we moved, that got destroyed. So then I had to come up with a new system. Okay, if this door is closed, you can knock, you can peek your head in if you need to, but if it's closed, that means that I'm in session,
Yeah,
right? And so, and I pride myself on being extremely confidential. And any stories that I tell online here and say, oh, a client did this or a client did, I'm never going to divulge trade secrets or someone's private journey. But the purpose is really that sometimes our family members don't get it. I remember one time someone told me when I came off of my day job, and I said, you know what? I say yes to the call. I knew what I was supposed to be doing. I already had this business established, and I'm like, if I can give 110%
mhm,
to myself, the same way I was giving to Joe Blow's company and making them billions, and I want to be able to invest that in myself. And someone asked me, a family member asked me, so are you looking for a job? I have a job, people. I have a job. And so saying yes meant I have to, it's like this, I stopped explaining, but in the beginning I would go, well, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner. That is my job. Well, how are you going to pay your bills? Well, I'm
yeah,
going to do what I'm called to do. And I can't worry about that right now. So sometimes the cost of our yes is exhausting trying to explain where we're at and what we're doing. And I don't do that anymore. I
yeah.
really don't. I get quiet. And someone might say, well, Shell, that's a little passive aggressive. Dr. Knight is trying to figure out how do I want to approach that or if I want to address it. Um, because I'm tired of doing that with my yes, because it's my yes. I have to be clear on it. I don't need you to be clear on it.
And that's the thing. I think that's the main part for everyone, right?
Hmm.
I tell my sons a lot. You have to find out what your passion is, right? And as you're finding out what that passion is, you ideally are going to figure out what you're good at and what you like to do. Hopefully, they're the same thing, but along the way, I found with some of these kids, what they were good at isn't what they like to do,
Hmm.
and so
Hmm.
as they're on that passion, which drives them to do what they like to do, I told them it doesn't have to make sense to anybody but you.
Hmm.
And you have to be able to be okay with that. So
Yeah.
that's a cost of saying yes in itself too, because it only has to make sense to you. And when
Yes.
it makes sense to us, to you, to the person who's passionate about what they do, that road becomes that much narrower
Yes.
because sometimes there's not even enough room on that road for you to walk on, if
Hmm.
there's a road at all. I use the analogy in several shows back where
Hmm.
I felt like I've been in this jungle with, in some cases, a dull machete, trying to
Hmm.
cut my way through this tight thicket of tree. Oh, no, don't know what a thicket is. Okay. You see this tree on the side of the road in the country on the freeway that's overgrown, these real tall trees, and that you
Uh-huh.
don't look like you want to walk through because you ain't sure how you're gonna get through.
You can't see your way.
You can't see your way. So imagine being in the beginning of one of those
Mm-hmm.
And all you know is that what you're after, what you want, the most thing that you've wanted all your life, the thing that drives you, is on the other side of 500 yards of that.
Yeah.
And here's your dull machete
Mm-hmm.
and a dull pocket knife
Mm-hmm.
and a little canteen of water,
Mm-hmm.
and see you when you get back.
Yeah.
And you're trying to cut a hole through that junk?
And here's the thing. That's why vision is so important and purpose is so important as well. I think I posted maybe last year, but there was like this thick fog over the backyard. We have was not really a backyard. Let me clarify. So where our home is, there's 7 acres of undeveloped property on the back side of our home. So our home is fenced in, and then there's seven acres, and that whole thing was socked with fog. And so what came to me was that I know what's on that road. I know what's behind there. I know that there's some houses further in the hills. I know that there's a paved road. I know that there's a dirt road because I've seen it before. I've been on it. And it was a moment where it was like my vision right now, I can't see that. But it's not that I don't know what's there.
Yeah.
And so it becomes like this scary place and talking about the yes, where I've seen myself in certain venues. I've seen myself in certain places. I've had dreams. I've seen myself on the stage. I've seen interactions with different people. And God has blessed me to where there have been times where I've been in a place recently and I'm like, oh, I've been here before, or I've seen this before, you know? And so I know that those are confirming that those moments are confirming that I'm on the path that I'm supposed to be on. But had I not seen it before and someone just said, okay, or I just say to myself, this is what I'm going to do, and I have no vision, I have no foresight, no intuition, no nothing. What's a machete? How is that going to help me if I don't know how to use it?
Right.
What are these tools that I have at my disposal if I don't put them into play to help my yes come to life? So there's some grinding that happens. There's some uncertainty sometimes, and that's where the discouragement and the no's want to come up, and that I quit because it's not what I thought it was going to be. But then something on the inside of me goes, this is what you asked for.
Yeah.
And I remind myself, what did you ask for? Because no matter what comes or goes, who comes or goes, who believes or doesn't, I asked for this. So am I really able to pay what it costs?
Yeah, that's the key. Because what old school used to say, don't write a check that
Your
you're behind
behind can't
can't
cash.
cash.
Come on.
And
Yep.
so this is really what that is. Once you make a
Mm-hmm.
sincere request to the Lord, that it gets to him. You know what I'm saying? Then he's going to immediately send that answer. The delay comes in when
Mm-hmm.
our faith gets involved and we stop
Mm-hmm.
putting ourselves in a position where I guess, okay, the Lord gives me another example or clarity for that. We ask the Lord for something, he sends it, but he sends it ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so bananas is that the blessing got there. The answer was
Mm-hmm.
sent and is waiting
Mm-hmm.
in many cases, because the Bible talks about Prince of Persia, where the delayed response, the angel was held up.
He
Okay.
was held up. Yeah.
But in the case of when he sends it, if we deviate and jump off the path, the blessing can only come where it's supposed to be delivered. And if
Yes.
we're not there, that's our fault. It ain't God's fault. Or if we start to then release the fear out there, which turns out to be demons that we release in the atmosphere to go in to stop or block our blessing, right? And literally it becomes a wrestling match, a hand-to-hand combat between an enemy of the state, right, of the Lord and his angel, right? And so I remember years ago, shortly after I moved out here, as a matter of fact, the Lord gave me this vision though. And it's funny, I've actually never given this vision over a recording before. So it's interesting. If you could imagine if you kind of got sitting up on a hill and you're looking out over this
Mm-hmm.
valley, and there's nothing out in the valley but just dirt. And it's flat. It's like it's been graded flat. There's nothing out there at all. No vegetation, no nothing. As far as the eye can see, left, right, and in front of you. And in the middle of this field, it was a battle zone. It was frozen warriors battling against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Deformed, ugly looking demons fighting angels. Some of the angels were on horseback. Some of the angels were in the air, above them. And they were they were duking it out. And
Mm-hmm.
as far as you could see, that's all you saw. Space. They were paired up 2 and 2, a good and evil fighting against there. And I was like, what in the world is this place, Lord? And
Mm.
the answer was, this is where your blessings are,
Wow.
because your fear released all of these things to stop it. And I'm
Mm.
like, I don't ever want to have that place again, because if you ever wonder what happened to the things you asked for,
Mm-hmm.
they're held up because of your fear.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And for not speaking, right? For not saying, oh, why you make me do this all the time? Gosh. So a few years back, I heard this, that the Lord was not going to be answering silent prayers, and
Ooh.
I don't know if I said this on another episode or not. So forgive me if I'm repeating myself.
Mm.
I think it's worth saying again, that when we just say, well, God knows it's in my heart, but we don't speak out what it is that we want, we're not saying it.
Mhm.
That's part of the process. That's a step in the process, to speak those things that are not as though they are so. That's part of the process, to say what you want,
Mhm.
seek, ask, knock. All of those things are actions, right?
Mhm.
And so when we just say, well, he knows it's in my heart, what was downloaded to me is that there's a sense of pride
Yeah.
and false humility
Yep.
and arrogance when we don't speak or ask for what we want, because we're looking at what we can do within our own self. And part of getting to the manifestation of what we see or what we believe is having faith.
Yeah.
And so faith is not something that's tangible, though it can be actionable.
Mhm.
So but it's not something you can touch and go, oh, that's faith. And let me grab that. It's something. It's something on the inside of us that is causing us to believe that what we said yes to is actually possible. So if we're not using our words, and I know we teach kids that, use your words, say thank you, say that. It's the same thing for us. We're not we're not exempt because we're over 40 or over 21 and can legally drink, or 18 and considered that rule still applies.
Yeah.
Use your words, because if not, the fear will cripple us and cause us to miss out on that field that you're talking about. Where, oh no, you gave another analogy where you saw like the windows were open and they were just flowing out,
Mhm.
versus being in this, I'm gonna call it an elephant graveyard, like on the Lion King, and
Yeah.
there's nothing but dry bones and death around you, and that's where your stuff is laying dormant because you didn't speak up.
Yeah.
You didn't speak up. You
Yeah.
didn't say what you heard. You didn't say what you sensed. You didn't say what you knew. And so that yes causes us to causes me, my yes causes me to think about consistency, to
Yeah.
think about what am I doing um, habitually as a practice in order to ensure that I get to whatever that dream is.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? Who do I need to become? What do I need to change? Is it associations? Is it literally the words that are coming out of my mouth? Is it the time that I spend on social media?
Yeah.
Is it the time? What am I doing with my time
Mhm.
that's getting in the way of the yes?
So I'm gonna do like you do all the time. Let's see. There's a couple of things you went through. Speak up, speak life, because that's really what you've just said that we need to do. Because if we don't use those words, and use that breath of God, or the ruah, and that's one of the tats I have on my arm. And then I know some super spiritual folks are gonna get, oh, you got tattoos. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, we
that's,
have a lot,
yeah, we're gonna leave that alone.
and
No,
we're
you just,
getting more.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I got to finish, because I got to do what the Lord told me to do. I have to put that vision, because, and you know what the crazy part about it is, I know that was Old Testament law, so some folks still get caught in the law, but it's okay, because the Word of God also says, write the vision, make it plain. If you see a
Yes.
vision that of something that's on your body, then it's also something I need to write,
Mm.
because it's what reminds me of who I am. Go back to the Lion King, not like it's our Black Panther, when we were talking, when the
Oh yeah.
queen says, "Show them who you are," and there's moments where I need to put that on there to remind myself who I am, because we came through a period of spiritual amnesia anyway during the birthing process. The Lord says, I
Mm,
knew you before. Well, how did he know you before?
mm,
Where were you?
mm,
You weren't before in a
mhm,
humanistic sense. So if he knew
mm,
you before, then you
mhm,
had to be where he was. Where was
mm,
God? Oh, he's
mhm,
everywhere. Okay, then let's pull it back. Is he also, so if God is in heaven and he's on earth and wherever he was, he's with him. So wherever he knew you were, your address was with him. So you
mhm,
had to know you at some point. So if he knew you before and we got here and you don't remember knowing him, something we lost during the
mm,
creation of humanity, birthing, fall of man. Here we are, and that's even in the Bible too. A very small verse, because it says, there was a verse that basically said, if we knew who we were before and where we came from, we
mhm,
wouldn't finish the mission at hand. So the Lord
mm,
had to confuse that part. So, because I know I love my kids and everything, but if I knew how to get back to heaven and stay there without killing myself and
mm,
just be, I mean, there is those ways you can get there now and boop up, and but still,
mhm,
I wouldn't finish this stuff. I go on back,
mm,
and that's part of our saying yes here too. Is we the cost of saying yes to others around us is,
mm.
or can be high,
Yes.
because some of us want to give everything that we shouldn't give away. People say, "Don't eat your seed." Sometimes we want to eat our seed,
Mhm,
and that doesn't always mean our kids. But sometimes we just don't feed our kids enough. Well, maybe we feed them too much, and we don't teach them how to cook. We don't teach them how to hunt. We don't teach
mm,
them how to fish to be able to feed themselves.
mhm,
And we need to be able to teach them how to do things. It's a part of the training of a child and the way you should go in there.
mhm,
So when they get old, like some of us, 100,000 years old, and some of our kids don't know how to wash, don't know how to clean, don't know how to do their own dishes,
mhm.
and they become derelicts on society. I mean, Shell, I know you don't want Caitlin to marry some dude that don't know how to do no cleaning and no cooking and no nothing else. She needs a
Listen,
man that has some home training.
I listen, and you're right. And that's when I started with the boys, as a single parent, ultimately, teaching them how to be gentlemen. That's where
Yeah,
that came from.
yeah,
Helping, learning how to wash clothes, learning how to take out the trash, um, just things around the house, learning how to vacuum, learning how to clean a bathroom properly, and it's a learning process. And I feel like one of them kind of rebelled, but he's coming back. He's coming back around. He's coming back around. That room, Lord Jesus, I would have to get a stool and sit in the middle of the floor and go, do this, do that, touch that. What are you doing with that? What is that experiment over there? He's a little scientist. That's my chef. But
mhm,
and so it was all purposeful. But that's how I had to do that with him. I didn't have to do that with the other one. And Caitlin will wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and the dishes are done, the kitchen is clean, she's vacuumed, she's washed her clothes, and I'm like, okay, well, okay. Um, so my point in saying that is everyone is different, and
yeah,
so being able to teach them, I think, is the point that you're really making. Is they learn. So me and my husband were just talking about this. Our kids learn so much from what we do, whether
mhm,
we're teaching them with words or not,
yeah,
and and it's still very important that certain things you actually do teach them,
yeah.
because they'll pick up the negative behaviors. We're talking about can I say that? We were talking about the woes of we were talking about the path of being single parents, as both of us were at one point in our divorce lives prior. And sometimes the influence of the other parent or other family is not what you necessarily want your kids to be exposed to, because it could be part of the reason why you're no longer with that person, right?
Sure, sure.
And so some of the lazy, my word, lazy behaviors that one of the older kids exhibits, and wanting to lean on the system, or different things like that, he's like, that's not what I taught him.
Right.
So where did he learn that? So he saw that somewhere, whether it was in the other home, or whether it was with friends, or whether someone dropped the seed. We're combating against all of that when
Yeah.
we say our yes to, right?
Yeah.
We're combating against the influences of other people. We're combating against the um, the doubt or the fear in our own heads and in our own hearts. We're combating against what people think. listening to Tyler Perry. Sorry, I should have said I had two things. I was listening to Tyler Perry talk to, I don't know the gentleman that he was talking to, honestly.
Mhm.
I saw this on Facebook just yesterday, and he was saying, you know, he didn't care. He used some explicit language, but he was saying he didn't care what people thought about him.
Right.
He said, and he had to grow to learn to be like that, because the other gentleman that he was encouraging was saying every time he does something, he's going online and he's looking to see, you know, how many what his Rotten Tomato score is, or he's looking for all these likes and loves and, you know, positive comments and referrals and all of this stuff, particularly from people who are not a part of his same culture.
Right.
And Tyler Perry said, the way that I get around that, the way that I have addressed that within myself is I remain authentic to me, my words. He said, I remain authentic to myself, and I tell the stories of the people in my own life.
Mhm.
So in doing that, there's a relevancy that he's created for people who resonate with his story.
Mhm.
And if those people are enough to carry what he's doing, what difference does it make if someone doesn't like it or doesn't support it?
Right.
It doesn't matter, because he's not creating for either group, really. He's creating for himself.
Correct.
And I thought that was a powerful lesson, as we were talking about the cost of saying yes. Is yes, you want to influence people to I want to influence people to be their best self, but I'm not influencing people to be another version of me
Mhm.
or to be me.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work that I feel called to, and I want that to be inspirational. And for those people it doesn't land with, I can't be concerned about that.
Right. And that's really also the essence of your message. I listened to it yesterday while I was
Oh,
working,
thank you.
and it was such a powerful testament to that very statement, where we don't have to move how the world moves, right? When the raps, that lyrics, the hip hop song says, "When you move, I'll move," just like
Just
that.
like that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's really what the crowd does. And you don't. I saw another post that is related. So sometimes it says something to the effect of, you can follow with the masses, but sometimes you need to remove the M and don't follow the
Mm,
asses. And so I thought it was
mm,
really wild, because that's the truth. But
mm-hmm,
there's another statement too I've made a lot back in the day,
mm-hmm,
was we fake it till you make it, because you don't really
mm,
know really what success looks like in our lives. We know what success looks like, what society says it is, or what, if it, those who following, Queen B and Jay-Z, that's, if it's, triple billionaire type of thing, and Bill Gates and all the type of people. I mean, if that's success, that's one thing.
mm-hmm.
And then there's success in a lot of other ways too. But if you're not those people, success is going to look different, because
Absolutely.
we're not them. And I'm not saying we're not going to be billionaires or can't be. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying
No,
at this
that's a
particular
promise.
moment in time, my life looks the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, success needs to be, I got up this morning, I got a shower, I started early, I'm making some quality work. I didn't kick the dog when I went down the hallway, and actually let the dog out on time. When
Mm-hmm.
made a quality shirt, quality product for my client. I ordered the stuff on time. I sent invoices, preferably collecting on those invoices on time or early. Those are success. Able to continue to do this, having a business that's still operating in a low red condition over the first year. I mean, I'm almost in the second year, and to be where we're at, okay, we're still working on closing those, making all of the dollars make sense,
Mm-hmm.
as Quick would say. But it's not like we're giving up, right? And we're not in mountains and holes of debt. And it's, if we really start to look at the impact of where we are, you have to make the small steps and look at that and go, we are doing well. I may not be
Mm-hmm.
selling, $17,000 worth of apparel every month. You know what I'm saying? Some months we don't
Mm-hmm.
sell any. Some months we sell other things. And as you
Mm-hmm.
build and refine your processes, sharpen your tools, sharpen your goals,
Mm-hmm.
sharpen your mind to realize what the Lord is actually really wanting you to do, versus
Yeah.
being all over the place, that is a win in itself.
Yeah.
And if we just have to be able to understand what success looks like for us, it's not going to look like what it is for any one of you.
Mm-mm. Absolutely not. And I love that you brought in Jay-Z and Beyonce and Warren Buffett and all, you know, all the high level, highly visible figures that we know make a lot of money. Here's the thing, and appear to be living a great life.
Sure.
Here's the thing. We don't know the cost of what their yes is.
Right.
And although it may appear that I would want to trade places with Beyonce, right?
Sure.
For the monetary piece or for the recognition or to have an even greater beautiful voice or to be a great dancer and all of those things that we see, we don't know the cost. And so I say that to myself. I wouldn't switch places with anybody, and nobody was going to switch places with me when my yes was being developed. When I was in the trenches, where I was being abused and neglected and felt less than the dog that I was feeding, you know, or you wouldn't want to, you wouldn't want to trade places with me while I'm trying to figure out where me and my sons are going to live for that night after being kicked out of a beautiful 7,000 square foot home or whatever it was. It was like a mansion. And there we were sitting on the stairs, looking at each other, trying to figure out how we're going to get out, where we're going to go, because everything had to be moved out because the landlord that at that time revoked us staying there because of my in my second relationship. He didn't own the home, and we had to go because we had to go. So I'm calling, asking, going deep back into my past, asking friends and old church members, and even some of my former family members, can you come and help me move this stuff out? We had 24 hours, Craig, sitting on the hill in a beautiful city. There were 30. I'm not exaggerating. I think there were 27 to 30 steps to get to our front door from the street.
Wow.
It was massive. And because I said no to that lifestyle and yes to where I needed to be, that caused me some turmoil. That caused me a moment of discomfort. It caused me some heartache. It caused me some pain. It caused me to have to ask for a favor and then make good on that favor until it caused me to hear some no's from some apartments. Like, no, we can't take you because your credit's not good. Oh, we just noticed that your light, you got bills, you got this, you don't make enough money, until finally I got a yes, right?
Yeah.
But it took me some no's to get to that yes. And it's going to take some more no's for me to get to the next yes. I don't know why I went there, but I hope that whoever needed to hear that, like wherever you are at the book I was originally going to write, and I still may do it, was going to be on a hill in hell, in a hole with hope. Because I was literally on a hill, on a magnificent, if you guys know San Diego at all, Dictionary Hill in Spring Valley. There's like rich people that live up there, wealthy people that pay for that view. That's the kind of home that I was living in sheer hell. The worst year of my and my kids' entire life. The worst. Short-lived, but impactful. On a hill in hell. And when I was at the bottom of that barrel, that's where my yes became clear and strong. I'm here. I'm at the bottom of the barrel right now. I'm in this hole trying to dig myself out. My daddy, as a construction and builder, as a construction person and builder, he would say there's no way to build a hole without, to dig a hole without getting in it. But in that hole, at the bottom of the freaking barrel, is where my hope came from, because that is what assured my yes, that I knew what my no was supposed to be.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of Knight Consulting. That was the beginning of Coach Shell. That was the beginning of Dr. Knight. That
Yeah.
was the beginning in that hole. So
I love that saying because that's huge. And then you said I'm writing the other one down now. Said you can't dig a hole without getting into it.
dadism, yeah.
And it's funny you use dadism. That's something I'm actually doing and gathering now and looking to find a way to do that on a regular. Because I probably got notes and notes and notes of those type of dadism sayings to align with the dad collective line.
I love it.
I just haven't released them.
I have some in my what's that program? We both use Canva for certain things. So I have some dadisms that I will quote. I used to do it on Wednesdays when I would post, and then I switched to me at 3 a.m. There's still some dadisms that are out there, and so actually some are on my YouTube page too. But yeah, those are those things that you hear and you go, that don't make sense right now, Dad. And then a year or two later, or 10 years later, you go, huh, that makes all the sense, Dad. So
Yeah, yeah.
experience.
Been finding a lot of those dadisms, old schoolisms in the last few days. I just typed in the last 2-3 days with another friend. It was like, man, old folks used to say that or say this or whatever.
Mhm.
And when I used to tell them, that don't make no sense, or I laugh or I smirk or whatever,
Mhm.
the folks used to drag me around to prayer meetings and drunk with them. And the old folks used to barely be able to stand up or push it on the back of the pew, and they'd do
Right.
whatever. Oh Lord, I want to do, and they'd say something, and I was like, and I'm not. Sometimes I would make noise, right? Sometimes I
Yes.
wouldn't, and the folks would just say, you just keep on living.
Keep on living.
And I'm like, man, yeah, because basically say, look, live long enough, you'll understand what it is for the Lord to be a way maker. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You
A
know,
wheel in the middle of a wheel. Like,
right.
what?
Right. And I was like, I don't understand. A wheel in the middle of a wheel. I'm thinking you talking about a wheel in the middle of a wheel? That don't make no sense because it's gotta have a spoke in some but
We're so
they
literal.
right. Because I didn't know. I was
Yeah.
young, you know what I'm saying? And I was very little now, matter of fact type of dude. But that's
Mhm.
really what it is. As it relates to our yeses, that's really what holds our yes together. And it doesn't
Mhm.
hold it together because our yes is still a yes, right? But it holds it together in our mind and to be able to hold on to the yes and not give up and
Mhm.
be ready to, I'm done. In
Yeah.
because yeses don't fit in our microwave society, in our Instagram,
Mm-mm.
social media society. It don't
No,
fit in
sir.
the X. You know what I'm saying? We want you to
Mm-mm.
get off the X or get on the X depending on the situation. But these situations here, sometimes they don't sit well because it takes a long time.
Yes, there's a
And
process.
and I find myself when we do, posting for this show or posting for the, Carlisle Prince or whatever,
Mhm.
I used to think, oh man, the people aren't responding. And I think, you know what? It's not the people who need to respond. It's myself needs to respond. And a lot
Yes.
of these posts and videos and the YouTubes and stuff we do with my kids and these episodes, they're really as a
Mhm.
reminder in so many cases for us to
Yes.
continue to do what we're supposed to do to leave the
Yes.
legacy there. So as others come around and go, oh, yeah, that was right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what this legacy is left here to do. But
Mm.
there's days or moments where I kind of remind myself that people often don't think of a person as sane or wise until they're gone.
Mm.
Case in point is Kobe Bryant. They've
Mhm.
they have almost not they. A lot of folks in media now have almost deified Kobe. And everything he said is so right and so on point, and he's so
Mhm.
inspirational, so motivational.
Mhm.
But when he was playing, nobody wanted to play with him. So they said, because he was just
Mhm.
super driven.
Yeah.
I saw an interview that he did where he didn't understand why other players didn't play as hard as he did. And
Mhm.
then one of these players said something to him about it. He says, "Look, why don't you throw me the ball?" And we did this and that, and they talked through their issue. And then Kobe, it clicked for him because he took a moment to see someone else's perspective
Mhm.
because he wasn't getting the results that he was wanting. And he says, I no longer had to realize and think about what the other person could do. I had
Mhm.
to be more concerned about what was going on in that person's life and in their
Yes.
head at this time. He says, from that moment on, things changed for me because I couldn't do this thing by myself.
Yep.
And some of us being solopreneurs and parents and individuals, we're not called on our yes to do everything around our yes. We're called to do our yes.
Yes.
And sometimes our yes requires other people to say yes. And when
Mhm.
other people don't say yes, the Lord still says yes, and we got to keep going.
Right. Yeah. Had to peel some people off, or I actually had to peel myself off. And then as a result, then, there were some bodies in the street. And I haven't eaten yet. So maybe it's me.
Hangry?
Maybe it's me.
You
I'm
hangry?
not hangry. I'm not hangry, but we usually meet a little earlier. So
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about eating, but now it's noon. It's past my fasting time. Where did that
Well,
comment go?
the-
Bodies in the street,
well,
different kind of body count, people, different kind of body.
well, I won't tell you then that the boys have got food, and I actually have food waiting. And I was like, why y'all wait so late to order food? Normally those producers have already gotten morning food if they were going to get it.
Mhm.
And they had
Yeah.
to come and showed up 5 minutes after we started recording. I was like,
Dang it. Yeah. Yeah. About that. So let's make an agreement that we're not going to eat online when we record. Because I've seen
yeah.
some pretty famous people doing their podcast, and for me, the smacking doesn't work with me.
It's not. It's like wearing socks to bed, like you were saying.
I don't care how cold I am, Craig. I can't. Anyway,
Not
so we
even
digress.
if they're clean socks right out the laundry.
No, 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 no.
I got you.
The cost of saying yes to me means
You can't wear socks to bed. You better get an electric blanket or a whole bunch of blankets and cover your feet
listen,
up 3 times.
or stay on your side that night because I just know I have an issue with socks. But yeah, the yes, the yes is powerful, and I don't know that when I said yes, I understood what it all entailed, and I think that's I didn't prepare for the body count. You think that somebody is going to be with you forever because they rock and roll with you right now. And then my yes was like, I won't be able to go to that, or no, I'm not coming down for that. I'll support you, meaning I'll give a donation, I'll do my best, but I had to start thinking about who am I connected to,
Right.
and when I say yes to them, am I condoning what they do?
Mhm.
Is my support actually necessary for me to support them? Like my physical presence, is it necessary to be there, or can I support them? And then some people might say, well, Shell, that's kind of that might feel like hypocritical. You support somebody in the dark, but not in the light. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is certain perfect example. Another video I watched was gosh, I can't think of the kid's name. The man, not a kid. He played in Big Mama's House. He was the son that grew up to be a police officer also with Martin Lawrence. Can't think of his name, but he was being interviewed, and he was talking a little bit about his yes, in the sense that he knows who God called him to be. And I can't say I'm shocked, but I didn't know. You don't know who Christians are or what people believe, in Hollywood. But anyway, he was very vocal about God giving him the positions that he gets, and he fasts and he prays for the different roles before he accepts them. And then he quoted Denzel Washington and said, you can go to the party. This is the essence of it. He said, you can go to the party, but you need to leave 30 minutes before the devil gets there. Right.
Yeah.
His comment was around, even Jesus, broke bread and quote unquote fellowship with the sinners or the non-believers or those who were outcasts, yada, yada, yada. But you don't see a time where Jesus did what they did. You don't see a time where, and so that's what he was saying. You have to have integrity, and
Yeah.
you have to know that your yes will take you wherever you need to go, but you can thwart your yes and the plan that is already set before you by being connected or being in the presence with the wrong people because it doesn't align to who you really are.
Yeah.
And if you make that connection, then you are guilty by association, kind of a thing. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, because that's it too. Because your cost of saying yes, my cost of saying yes is gonna, like you said, disconnecting me from some friends, and I don't have to do anything just to fit in because it's not gonna fit in. You know what I'm saying? It's
Hmm.
gonna be wild because there's some folks that I'm friendly with
Yeah.
that have. I'm like you now. I'm like, make sure I source the words properly. Our yes puts us on our path for ourselves.
Hmm.
What other people do on their paths are totally up
Yeah,
to them. Be
absolutely.
in my business, and yes, we're supposed to be there to, show the way, be the light, be the
Hmm.
preservative, be the salt in the world. And everyone's in the world, right?
Hmm.
But also the word says be in the world, but not of it.
Right.
So there's certain things that folks are doing in their lives that I just can't rock with because if
Hmm.
I do, it just basically old folks used to say, don't ruin your witness. I'm like, what do you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean ruin your witness? It means
Yeah.
this. So let's talk about legal terms, right? Ruin
Hmm.
your witness meaning if I was going to be a character witness for you, if you was going to jail and be sued for somebody for something, for some issue,
Hmm.
if I allow what I do, my lifestyle, my behavior, my whatever dirt I decide to do, be
Hmm.
in such a way that I no longer become a good character to
Hmm.
testify on your behalf to how good
Hmm.
you are. So, case in point, if I start slinging dope, doing drugs,
Right.
being a pimp, and running prostitutes, you're
Hmm.
not gonna have me come and give you a character reference if you're trying to, say, hey, you know, come and tell people how good of a doctor, how good of a person I am, or you're not gonna want a person with my new pedigree to come
Hmm.
speak on your behalf because
Hmm.
nobody want to hear a pimp prostitute player personnel dude talk about how good of a coach you are because obviously you're not a good coach because you're not coaching me because I'm out here still doing this dirt in the street.
Or you may know that I'm a good coach, but you're not ready.
But that's really the thing. There's so often we've got to be the
Ready.
people that other people ain't ready for. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And be okay with the fact that folks ain't ready. To
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want people. I just want to say ain't. Well, but it's true.
That's
A lot of
fine.
people ain't ready for what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing, and that's okay because
Mm-hmm.
we've got to be out here cutting that path through that thicket, through those bushes, knocking those trees down, making a path where there is no path, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure we don't close doors before there is a door. Make sure we're opening the doors that come to us. So when the path gets wider when the next person comes behind us and the next person comes behind us, or we decide to stay a while and make it wider before we move on. And it can be lonely by yourself.
Man.
And that
Yeah.
cost of saying yes can be lonely.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah. I have a sister friend who is she has her own like inspirational books and journals and stuff
Mhm,
like that. And she was talking about the isolation.
mhm,
And I remember feeling isolated in on that hill.
mhm,
I remember feeling like, dang, like I want to say why is me, woe is me, or why me.
mhm.
And it quickly, became important that I understood why me. Um, and that there was something inside of me that needed to come out that I didn't want to recognize or couldn't fully be that
Mhm.
person that I was supposed to be, because I was oppressed, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been the person going back to don't let your evil. Well, that's the scripture that came to mind. Don't let your good be evil spoken of, or don't ruin your witness.
Yeah.
I've ruined my witness before, and it took me. years to regain trust within myself first.
Sure.
And sometimes that those thoughts, it's like, dang, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And having to be accountable for not making that same mistake again.
Yeah.
And that is a part of, for me, of saying yes, that I'm going to do the right thing regardless of what this nasty evil flesh wants to do, regardless of what might feel good in this particular moment, that somebody's always watching.
Oh yeah.
And I need to be aware that I'm watching. Like, I'm aware of my own, being able to be my own manager, you know, my having enough self-awareness and relationship management to know, like, just because I might drink wine, that I don't need to drink wine with the new babe in Christ at the church
Right.
who's struggling. I need to be cognizant and mature, and saying yes for me is about having that maturity to be able to, the Bible says, let the wheat and the tare grow together. God will do the separating. He will sift through all of that. But if I'm causing someone to slip or stumble, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Because not only am I impacting my witness, I'm saying I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. And for me, to me, that could mean a number of things. To me, it can mean that I recognize Christ as Lord. But there are also some behaviors that are associated to that other people think a Christian should be. And I find that hurtful, or found that hurtful, in an organization where one of my leaders told me, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. And I automatically assumed that they thought and believed like me. And so when I got stabbed in my back, I was like, you're not a Christian. And then I was like, I can't say that because that's judgment. Your behavior was not Christian-like.
Correct.
And I want to be sure that I'm not doing that to other people, because that all of those types of things, when our words, our behavior don't align, then we can absolutely ruin our witness and our yes. It's like that recommitment to the yes, and staying on that path where I'm not doing those things intentionally, because some things were intentional.
Yeah, this is gonna have to have a second. We haven't even gotten to the I quit part. Yeah, because there's so many days we're doing the yes part and driving through that and getting up in long days. Because for me, my yes has cost me to work, oh my gosh, 14, 15, 18-hour days, go to sleep for a few hours and get up and do it again. Not because someone paid me to get something done, but because I enjoy what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, we've had some jobs, we've had to work some, weird hours and get up more for somebody else, but it's a dredge. It's trying to drag yourself out of bed, right? I don't have to drag myself out of bed to do anything to do with printing. Because I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And it has taken a long time to get there. And I definitely encourage anybody who's struggling, wondering of what their mission and goal is in life, what their passion is, and whatever age. You really can't do a entrepreneur, solopreneur type of thing without knowing what you're called to do, what you're good at, what you're passionate about doing. It just becomes a task. It becomes another, I don't know, another job that you hook your cart to, looking for easy payment, right? Or some consistent pay. And then you can do that. I'm sure there's people out there who've sold, multi-level marketing stuff and other types of things, and start these little franchises because it was looking to be something easy. But I always find it interesting where, especially athletes, where they you used to see them getting paid millions of dollars, and in some cases there's some athletes that don't make millions, but people that make a lot of money doing what they do, and you would think, oh my goodness, you must be passionate in doing this, what you do. No, I just did it because I was tall, or I did it because I was good at it. Like I said earlier, it's a difference between being good at something and loving what you do. And a lot of these people open up, food stores. I've seen, several athletes, or chefs, or one football player here recently came out of college. I don't know how fairly recently. Dude's a brain surgeon. He was a
Mm,
Rhodes Scholar. In fact, there was his draft status got bumped around. He fell in the draft because he didn't talk about what he wanted to do long term in the league. He
mm,
talked about what he
mhm.
wanted to do in his medical field with his
Wow,
degree that he got, and he was gonna
that's
leave
awesome.
the sports environment to go spend some time doing his Rhodes Scholar Fellowship, and I don't know anything about that, and so those who know about the Rhodes Scholaring thing or this gentleman, I've misquoted it. The intent I had was the gentleman didn't wanna play in the league long because he really wanted
Mhm.
to do what he was led to do in his league, right?
Yeah.
And I did happen to see just a few days ago a follow-up to that gentleman. He did go into the league, into the
Mhm.
NFL. He played for a very, very, very brief time.
Mhm.
And now the guy is actually a neurosurgeon doing what he wanted to do with his education. And
Mhm.
it's brilliant because we, especially as African American men, we're not taught that we can do much else other than
Mm.
some gladiator in a new cage, in a new
Mhm.
arena, right? We're
Mhm.
often taught that we're going to do whatever it takes and be like
Mhm.
and take these
Mhm.
scraps. And we don't have to have scraps anymore. And one of the costs of saying yes is to realize that we don't have to take the scraps.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. No settling at all.
Mm,
You made me think about Terry Crews's interview with Shannon Sharp
mm,
and how he was talking about how he got into Hollywood
mhm.
and he played football for a little bit and he's just like he was built for it.
Sure.
He at some point in the interview he's like, I realized I just wasn't that good at it because
Yeah.
I didn't really want to do it. I that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so your yes has to be motivated by something more than you comparing or me comparing my life to. I'll go back to the Beyonce example, right?
Yeah.
I, I can't compare my life to hers.
Right.
That would be that's ludicrous, first of all. But it's you don't want to make what you do your yes about what someone else is doing because you think you can do it like them or better than them or what have you, because that's not sustainable.
Nope.
I was sharing with a brief testimony around my getting my doctorate. There's been several people at our church who've recently gotten their doctorate in education, as is mine. Mine is in organizational leadership, but each of us have a different emphasis.
Sure.
My brother's is in human resources. My mom's is in ministries. The lady who just got hers is an instructional kind of thing. She's a principal, and then mine is organizational leadership, but I have an emphasis in my practice around psychology and leadership psychology,
Mhm.
mental health, and things like that, because it aligns with my purpose. So
Mhm.
it would be foolish for someone to say, well, if Dr. Knight can do it, then I can do it. Yes, that's true, but you're not going to do it like me.
Correct.
Your path is not going to. There's a roadmap. Yes, there are
Yeah.
steps that you can take to accomplish anything. But to think that we're going to do it because somebody else did it or like someone else did it,
Right. Yeah.
that's not realistic. And we want to be sure that we're confident of what's motivating us to do it. So when we get out the bed in the morning,
Yeah.
we're not regretting or begrudging or anything like that. It's literally what is inspiring us to keep moving forward. So your yes is powerful.
Yeah. And definitely our stories are definitely motivational tools for people.
Mhm.
And in not a case we would want to believe the people that would say that it's like, oh, if she did it, I can do it. Not to belittle us, right? Or to mock or be exact. But
Mhm.
I wanted people to always thought when they think of me is if a single man or now a widow dude can raise 5 sons by himself,
Mhm.
then yeah, you can do it too. And I
Absolutely.
said that and that flip side because I was so ill equipped to do
Mhm.
this. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I had to make a choice
Mhm.
to not abandon them. And that cost of saying yes in that parental standpoint, it
Yes.
cost a lot financially. It cost a lot relationally. It cost a lot emotionally and
Yes.
physically and spiritually. It cost a lot. And I don't try to remind my sons of that to make them feel some kind of way. But
Mhm.
when they get to start wilding out and doing some things that are like, wait a minute, I know you know better.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
you thought that financially, you can go out and spend what we don't have to be with like the Joneses, like your little friends that run around the
Right.
hood. You
Right.
understand if that's what you wanted, then shoot, I could have gone back to work. And then you would have had all the money like some of your friends have, but they don't have the connection to their parents and access
Yes.
to their parents, and the parents being followers and influential in your life because
Hmm.
they weren't around. They were out there making the dough, but about you, they didn't know. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
said, that what you want? No, they were interested. No, 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 that's not what I want. I said, okay, then let's get your head right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We may have a few dollars less at this moment, but we're gonna build. I said, but you're coming
Absolutely.
stronger as a person
Absolutely.
than
Character.
anything else, right?
Hmm.
And just know that, hey, a delayed financial and physical gratification now is going to make
Hmm.
you a much better person long term. But we
Yes.
have to be able to be excited about that one piece.
Absolutely. And you're not at all suggesting that we're creating scenarios that create these stories, these
Mm,
dramatic
yeah.
homeless rags to riches kind of a thing.
Mm,
It's part of the process that things don't always go the way that we think that they're going to go,
yeah.
even though we have hope that at the end of that,
Yeah.
there at the end of this particular suffering, there's going to be a reward for that. So, whew, part two.
Part two. I
Because you
quit.
could
Right?
have said no.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the meantime, when you're following us on social media, this email. So if you have some show comments, show thoughts, if you need something that we can help you with, a referral. In fact, I got a referral just the other day about looking
Yeah.
for a man who may have been molested or sexually abused as a
Mhm,
child. And it'd be
mhm.
interesting to help a person. I'm looking for a person to refer, send as a referral for, unfortunately, for a young man that just happened to.
Yeah.
Um, I'm, and I say all that to say this is when the reality of doing what we're doing, it's there, because I
Yeah.
was not expecting anybody to call me and say, "Hey, you've been through some things. I don't know if this is one of the things you've been through, but
Mhm.
I need help." And I'm going,
Yeah.
and as the person was talking to me on the phone, sharing with me what they needed, I was like, I mean, thankfully it wasn't a video call because I was like, "Hmm,
Right.
wow."
Yeah.
And I was like heartbroken for the situation.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I'm thankful that it didn't hasn't happened to me,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I don't know what I would have done. I'm not even sure I'd have been here.
Mhm.
'Cause if someone had put their hands on a 7-year-old child in my house,
Yeah.
I can't say I wouldn't have caught a case for that. And for those who understand what caught a case mean, I'm not sure I would not have been in jail, because of
Right.
something I would wanted to have done out of retaliation
Yes.
for what they'd done to my child. So, and I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying that we should go do that. I'm just saying there's a part that would rise up in immediately if
Yeah.
someone mistreats children. And the crazy part, it was another child. So I can't even say it was
Well,
an adult. So I'm like, wow.
I learned through my um, molestation experience that kids who do that, it's because that something most likely has been done to them, or if they've seen something. And
Sure.
sex is a very curious thing for all humans, right? It's the way
Right.
that we're wired to connect. It's the way that we procreate and all of those things. But when it becomes inappropriate,
Yeah.
we're curious with other kids.
Yeah.
Kids being curious with other kids
Yeah.
is not uncommon. However, it still needs to be addressed as for what it is, and figure out if something happened to that kid, what the kid who was the offender, um, what's going on with that kid. And I used to, Craig, pre-pandemic, um, I used to say, I only had clients that I had an experience with or
Sure.
that resonated with me in some way. And so, like I said earlier, a lot of women who have been divorced or going through a divorce or trying to rebuild their life, or domestic violence, blended families, um, sometimes even premarital. And then I started getting these clients. I had a client whose son was raped repeatedly by a family member. And I know my story of molestation and quote unquote rape. And but I didn't make the connection that one of my kids, meaning that's what she was calling about, not for herself. And then I found out through accepting her as a client and asking, God to give me wisdom to deal with her and share our own stories, helping her as a mom, go through or what have you. I learned that one of my kids was touched inappropriately by another kid. And I didn't learn about it until they were an adult.
Wow.
And I didn't know that my kid was having nightmares. And this is why they were feeling depressed at age 10, because he couldn't shake this image that he had in his brain from when he was younger that he never shared. So it's not an easy thing to deal with. One of the ways that I dealt with it at that point, because he was older, I said, what would you like me to do? Because I don't believe there's a statute of limitations since you are not 18 yet, right? And this other kid was several years older than him. We had a conversation with our pastor. We offered counseling, we offered this, that, and the other, because for him, he just did not want to see that person ever again. And we excommunicated all communication, no Facebook, no YouTube, we even talked about going to a different church. Ultimately, pandemic happened, that wasn't an issue anymore. But it's a very serious thing to press charges. It's a very serious thing to get the other kid help if there is something else, and get your own kid help. In another situation, some things are swept under the carpet, and that's probably something we need to talk about too. In our culture, it seems very prevalent that when things like this happen with family members, we'll save face by not having the tough conversation, or by not pressing charges because uncle whatever had this issue. No, uncle whoever is wrong, cousin whoever is wrong, brother or sister is wrong. And I'm a huge proponent of legal action in that way.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. So don't save a face by saving a face.
Nope.
Can't do it. Man, and we talked about this before in our prep time, that this was going to be a heavy weighted topic, but that's what we're called to do, right? And if not that we trying to say the things that others won't say, but we're saying the things we're supposed to say, and you have to deal and walk through it, because we don't get any healing until we deal with it, right?
Absolutely.
We can't know to to forgive our offender until we walk through the study on forgiveness, like we went through for those 5 weeks. So yeah. So also follow us on social media. It's going to come out of that. Share it with a friend. And, you may have friends who've been through this, and have them reach out to us if they're looking for help. And one of the things we didn't say, but I will share it on here, is that in some cases, sometimes we just have to let a person go, and that is something that really happens during this part of our yes. Sometimes our yes is our yes, their no is their no, and their yes is their yes. And so sometimes you just have to let a person go through whatever they're going through to get to the point where they can hear you and hear other things and get the help that they need to make the appropriate changes. And best we can, don't try not to change how you view the person. Maybe you have to distance yourself from them as you need to, but it is, they are who they are and we are who we are, and preferably they'll get to a point where they're going to be okay, no matter what okay looks like. So
you will get to a point where you're okay, and you will see it differently if you're doing that work.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, we thank you all for being a part of what we are, what we're doing. Whew.
I know this wasn't even on the list, so it's on the list now.
It's on the list now, and we'll see you all next time on the Knight&Craig.
See you all. Take care.
I came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending, word, been in verse, birthed in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the verses of queen. So long, you better catch a God, throw him the scenes. Dreams manifest, did you get what I mean? God always had a plan, he created for me. Success only means that I did what he seen. Got the game and the fans locked in like a key. Sitting on the throne with a crown, I'm a king. Sitting on the throne with a crown, I'm a king. Yeah, I think we got one.